Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back with Sam to talk about Ipswich 2, Aston Villa 2. This is your full Lions Roar match reaction. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're literally 9 away from 4,700 subscribers, so we are so close. So please help us get there. Like, subscribe, get your comments in, your thoughts on yesterday's game. Sam, great to have you, mate. How are you doing?
I'm good, mate. I'm doing really well despite the result, which I'm sure we'll get into. I actually had a very pleasant weekend celebrating my son's second birthday. So I guess start off shout out to little Nate. Happy second birthday, mate. We had a good one, and luckily we did the party on Saturday, so we had a bit of space to watch a game on Sunday. But yeah, no, it's been a very, very busy weekend, and today took the day off. I was in not so sunny Portsmouth at the beach, so yeah, just got back recently. But always got time for the Villa Park pod. You have to make time, don't you?
Exactly, mate. Exactly, mate. Well, happy birthday to Nate. And sadly, Aston Villa couldn't give him that birthday present and get the 3 points.
On his birthday as well. Shocking.
On his birthday. I mean, how did they not know? How did Unai not know?
I will say this, though. Since Nate was born, our fortunes have turned around massively.
Yes.
So he's just turned 2. So since he was born, I kind of felt bad buying him his first Villa shirt. I think it was like just about Gerrard time, and I was like, I'm so sorry, mate. I'm so sorry. Gave him his shirt. And now look at us flying. Although it might not feel like it with the ambience today, but I'll take post Nate Villa over pre Nate Villa any day.
Nice one. Well, James is wishing him a happy birthday.
Thank you very much, James.
And everyone's in the chat saying hi. Hello to everyone. Great to have you in the chat. Yeah, so before we get into any of the slight kind of critiques, may call them negatives, may call them just some observations, let's just talk Aston Villa currently 5th in the table, 13 points, 2 points off top, an unbeaten September, which they were quick to point out on social media. It's still been a very good start, nonetheless, sort of moving away from kind of yesterday's, I guess, disappointing performance and result ultimately. Still been a good month.
Yeah, sensational start. And I think I quite like the way people are talking about us in the certain contexts in the media, it's, I've got Villa coming, or going to Villa, a very hard place to go. And the kind of, we've forced ourselves into that upper echelon of like teams to beat and teams that you almost expect to struggle about. I think, I think the start has been brilliant, not to mention the Champions League win as well.
Exactly.
A lot of games, 3 games a week, most weeks. It's been a trying sort of month, but I think it's really funny. I think if we'd have not conceded that goal against Ipswich, I'm sure we'll talk about it, and we were joint top of the league right now, I'm very sure the sentiment will be very different to what it is and what it's going to be. This podcast, we would be talking about top of the table, Villa, absolute masterclass, comeback kings, whatever soliloquies you want to put in there, whatever catchphrases everyone's been saying all season. So it's a goal makes a massive difference to perception.
Oh, mate, goals change games, 100%. Goals change mindsets, goals change perspective, everything like that. And you're 100% right. And it is important to get that perspective in that. Had we not conceded that goal, we would have been talking about a controlled away performance, coming back from a goal down again. But in a lot of ways, conceding that goal and drawing the game 2-2 did kind of highlight some of maybe the underlying issues that have been occurring in the previous 2 or 3 games. Notwithstanding the young boys game that we kept a clean sheet, but you're talking Wolves going 1-0 down, mistake at the back. You're talking Everton going 2-0 down, having to come back, and then Ipswich going 1-0 down, and just some of the frailties at the back and the chances that we've been conceding that have been kind of brought to the fore, really.
Yeah. Before I respond to that, I've made an executive decision. I left my water on that table, and I'm not going to go an hour thirsty. So hold on.
Go get it. Go get it.
Right, that's it. That's all we needed. Yes, right. So defensive frailties. I think, regardless of the result, what the result would have been yesterday, the fact that we conceded first again, and the fact that we're conceding so many, obviously with young boys as the exception, I think is a cause for concern. I mean, let's be honest. There's a lot to be sort of very positive and bright about, but even Unai Emery has said it, and even Emi Martin has said in his social media post this weekend, he was like, frustrated to again not keep a clean sheet. That it's something that everyone is very, very conscious of. And yeah, it's a problem. It doesn't seem to matter who we play. I think, whilst I sit here and say we've had a brilliant start to the season, which we have, I also contextualized it last week when I was on as well. I was like, well, we've had a great start to the season, but we've been winning games we should be winning. The likes of Everton and Leicester, and you would have said Ipswich. Maybe West Ham away was one. I mean, I think with where Villa are now, that is kind of a game you kind of expect to go away and get points out, if not win, especially seeing how they're doing under Lopetegui as well. They are struggling, or have been struggling. So I think, even against what you would consider lesser teams, we're conceding a bucket load of goals. And it's really, really concerning. So I think we need to probably address that here on the pod, but more importantly, I think they'll need to address it down at Bodymoor Heath at some point.
Yeah. Well, let's get straight into a couple of the positions, because loads of comments coming in around the right back position. So Gary said that right back place is going to be a problem. Why did we sign Maatsen if Ned is not ready? PJJ, we all knew before a ball was kicked that we needed to improve defensively. Yeah. Adamski says, give us a grown-up right back. Danny said, not panic stations, but we need to rectify the defence, boys. It's holding us back. And the thing is, we're gifting the goals. It's not like the teams are opening us up. And a few more. Kevin, let's get straight into it. What's with Emery's snub for Nedeljkovic? Love Emery, but it's baffling to me. So can you shed any light on this right back position? I tried to sort of contextualize it with putting Concert right back allows Bailey maybe to have a bit more freedom to stay forward, because Concert's potentially better as a 1v1 defender. But that didn't transpire yesterday at all, because they completely dominated us down their left-hand side, our right-hand side. And Bailey, I mean, other than the assist, which was great, didn't have any sort of attacking impetus whatsoever. So we were really struggling down that right-hand side.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think I'd be more confused if it was still Bogard out on the right. I think the simple answer is Unai Emery probably feels that Diego Carlos at centre-back and Concert right back is a more experienced, a more assured duo than Concert and Bogard or Nedeljkovic. And I think that's it. That's the only reason he could do that. But I mean, I said it in the chat whilst the game was happening. Rich, our own the pod's WhatsApp group. I was like, we are getting absolutely killed on that side, and it's the first time I've ever said it. But Concert had an absolute stinker against Ipswich, and I think the big issue for me, and again, it's something that I asked Gareth to touch on when you guys do your talking tactics, and I'm sure Gareth will explain why. But my biggest question is, this time last year, well into the season, actually, well past September of last year, Villa had caught more teams offside, or more players offside, than any other team in Europe by a country mile. I mean, we were literally double the next person. And the reason we did that was, one, because we played a very high line. And the second one was because our defensive structure was incredible. There's a picture from last season, I'm sure everyone remembers, and it's that image of everyone moving forward in sync, it looked like a mirror image of the player before them. Everyone, their line was perfect, and we were just so well organized at the back. Now, a lot of people will say, well, that high line was risky. Look what it's doing to Spurs. It didn't always serve us very well. And I'm inclined to agree. I didn't always love the high line. But even if you drop back, what I don't understand is where the structure's gone, where the defensive structure's gone. Why aren't they in the line anymore? Because what happened more often than not yesterday was Ezri Konsa was significantly further forward than Diego Carlos, who was significantly further behind Pau Torres, and God knows where Luca Dean was. I think he was having a coffee on the side at one point. So that structure's gone. There's no line anymore. There's no
mate.
line.
I was just saying it was such a mess. Like the chance that Liam Delap had that Martinez saved with his foot. Pau Torres is completely forward into midfield ahead of Onana and Tielemans. I'm like, how is he left his man just completely spare and then left Delap with the freedom of Portman Road? And then not only that, Carlos isn't coming across to cover. Then the right back isn't. Conte's not coming over to cover into his position. So that was a warning sign. And then the goal that he scored us in the second half, Delap is just running down down at their left-hand side, our right-hand side, because Conte's gone way too far forward again and tried to play a Hollywood pass to Watkins when he should have just played it out wide. But Carlos just runs straight back to the goal rather than running to shut down the run first, to close the player down and close down the run of where he's going to get to, which means Torres can come across and then Digne can come round. Like, it's basic 101 schoolboy defending. That's what you teach. Shut the angle of the ball down first and then go and close the man. Don't just go back into position and let the man get into the box. I just don't understand what they were doing.
Yeah,
it's a complete mess.
Carlos got sent to the shop so much. I think he had to get. I think he had to buy a ticket to be readmitted to the stadium. He was on his heels. It was such a simple step over, but we made Liam look very good. Actually, I don't know if he is that good, or whether we just kind of made him look that good. But I think the bigger concern is, and I know we'll go on to it because this is kind of answering a question you asked me before the podcast started about how much we knew about Ipswich. I think what was more telling was how much teams know about Villa now, because I gave the example of the game against Wycombe Wanderers, and every other game pretty much that we played this season. The amount that we get hit on that long ball, because teams know it'll open us up. We're not great at clearing it. We're generally pretty sparse at the back, and that long ball over the top is absolutely killing us. And teams, I watch the same teams play that have just played us, and they don't play that football. They don't take that into their next game. They're not hitting long balls. They do it against Villa because they know that we commit a lot of men forward, and we have to remember that for most of the game yesterday, Ipswich, when they didn't have the ball, which they did a lot more than you'd want them to, but when they didn't have the ball, they were 11 men behind the ball, very comfortable in doing so, because another trait of Villa is that we don't particularly move the ball quickly. We don't counter attack with fearsome speed, and even when we do go forward and it's sort of like 4-on-3 or 5-on-3, whatever, we do tend to get to the byline and play the ball back, and then we play it across the pitch. And because ball retention is so important for Villa, we don't do big sweeping passes to cut out 2 or 3 men. It always goes through a man. So it's one of those performances that was just. I mean, it was just a horrible performance by us. Very, very little to admire or enjoy about it. But we've been saying for weeks, it's not really about the performance; it's about the result in the end. And this is one of those times where the result didn't necessarily go away. I mean, let's be honest, we didn't lose the game. But it felt like a loss because of who we were playing. And we said this last season as well, Rich. What was at stake? I remember around December, January, there were games we could have won to go top of the table. And
every time we can go top, we throw it away in some way, shape or form, which is a bit of a mentality thing. Just one more point on the defensive side of things. I think some really good points about the line, good points about the right back. And I do think Kostin Nedeljkovic probably does deserve an opportunity. I don't see what he's going to do any worse than anybody else. And I think most people in the comments would say the same. With the long ball situation and the high line, I seem to remember Emi Martinez doing a lot of the sweeping up, coming off his line really fast and sometimes, headering it out or getting a clearance and being that kind of last line of defence almost. Is there a case of Martinez maybe being a little bit less wary, a little bit more wary, of coming off the line so quickly? And I don't know, have we been as confident in Martinez of late? There's a few goals that he should have saved that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's all a unit, isn't it? That back five is all a unit. Is there something that's maybe slightly missing from that back line that's not happening at the minute?
Yeah, I mean, I'll never be able to say for sure. I don't think anyone will, unless you're in that dressing room. But I'm sure they're conscious as a defense of how many goals they're shipping, and they're kind of being bailed out by the attacking players at the moment. I know Ezri Konsa scored against Wolves, and that was ultimately the winning goal, even if Duran scored afterwards. But I think confidence is not necessarily low, but I think the defense are super conscious that they're not putting up good numbers right now. No clean sheets in the last 7 years. So I think it is something like, I don't know how long it is. There's not been any clean sheets for a good while. And Emi Martinez he's an enigma, isn't he? He's very strange. Like yesterday, he made a couple of absolute worldy saves, I'll tell you what, right out the top drawer. And then the first goal, you'd say he probably should have kept that out quite comfortably. So Emi Martinez is still doing incredible Emi Martinez things. And I think we have to be very careful of ruling people out very quickly. I saw a lot of shade thrown at Leon Bailey yesterday because, there were quite a few times he went to turn or trap the ball or something. He just ended up kicking it out of play. It was very weird. But I think we need to identify, look, there's something going on wrong with our defense. We've lost our discipline. We've lost our shape. We've lost our line. We are conceding way too many goals. And I think this game against Bayern on Wednesday is really interesting because we could very well ship 10 against them. And I'm not exaggerating. If you think about the teams we've been conceding, 2 against Everton, 2 against Wickham, 2 against Ipswich.
1 against Wickham, mate. 1 against Wickham.
Was it just... No, I swear they scored in the last minute, didn't they? It was 3-2, wasn't it?
Yeah, we won 2-1.
Oh, fuck. Oh, sorry, my bad. Well, anyway.
But anyway.
I'm exaggerating for effect. But, even conceding a goal against League One, Wickham isn't very promising. Really detailing my ball knowledge here. But, yeah, I think the general consensus is that we're pretty frail defensively. And the big question is that everyone wants to know, and I think Unai Emery would probably do himself a service if he came out and addressed this, is why isn't Nedeljkovic the only recognised right back who's fit in the squad not playing? And I'd also like to bring up a clip of me 2 years ago, or at the start of last season, saying we need a right back, or maybe at the end of the season in our end of season awards when I said we need a right back. I think
you've been saying it pretty much every podcast for the last since you've been on. To be fair, since we signed Matty Cash,
because the thing is, I don't rate Matty Cash very highly either. I don't think he's a great right back. Would he be better than what we're doing now? Quite possibly, yeah. But I think in the long term and where we're trying to be and where we're trying to compete at, I don't think Matty Cash is good enough either. A lot of people are saying, why did we get Maatsen if we're not going to get a right back? Which I find quite strange because Maatsen is a massively quality player. And we had an opportunity to go and get him for essentially 13 million because we did the deal with Omari Kellerman. A lot of people forget that was 19 million we sold Omari Kellerman for, and we got Ian Maatsen for 13 mil. It was a good deal, whatever you think about it. He was in the team of the season for the Champions League team of the season last year. He's a good player. It's not an either or for me. We should have had both. We needed both. And we should have gone and got a right back. And I think that's starting to show because our biggest frailty is on that right side 100%.
Yeah. Well, we know. I'm sure Unai has his reasons, but yeah, I think you're right in terms of what you're saying. I think Wednesday's game in isolation will be different. The players, I have to say, and you said it before we came on, probably had that in mind, and it's difficult not to have that in mind. And I think had they got away with it in terms of getting that 2-1 victory, we would have been a completely different podcast. But I think in some ways it's almost not that you want to drop points, but it's almost a bit of a wake-up call to say, look, we need to sort it out. And as you've just said, the players are aware of it. They're big enough professionals to know that it needs sorting. Just a couple of other bits. We'll get into comments as well from everyone. Make sure you smash the like button, everyone. We've creeping up to around 150 watching on X and YouTube, which is brilliant. So we want to keep growing though. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button. Share it on X as well. Get retweeting, get liking as well. And keep your comments flowing in. But let's get into some of the comments that we've got just to flow through. So KTFFTF Walker, I'm not sure what that stands for, but it says Cash and Konza is a far better combination than playing Carlos. Scotty UK, I'd play Maatsen instead of Ramsey in front of Digne. James says, as Michael says, mindset, big teams, the players are at it, and don't the players give the same attention to lesser teams? Possibly.
That's an interesting one, because if you look at the games we've played, I'd say a lot of them are lesser teams, and we.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I think the tests are going to come like in the Premier League. I mean, obviously we've got Man United this Sunday, but November, Tottenham away, Liverpool away. That's going to be a real test for the mentality of the players.
Yeah, 100%. And I think we've got a very, very interesting game after Bayern and Man United. I'm very excited to see that, because that club and team is an absolute shit show at the moment. And this is a good opportunity for us to go there and give them a spanking they deserve for a good while. But it's all, like you say, it's all about confidence. Like, we got Bayern come to Villa Park on Wednesday, and it's going to be an occasion. It's going to be quite surreal, and I don't know what the expectation is. I don't know if we expect to win it. I don't know if we expect to. What I expect is to compete and to give a good account of ourselves. I don't really expect to get any points out of it, but I think we're more than capable of doing so. We saw that against Man City last year. I think Man City are a better team than Bayern, but I think that the problem is Bayern are such a free-flowing scoring team. They've hit 9 in the Champions League already this season, and we are so frail at the back. And you worry about what that is going to do to the confidence. And I think that, do you know what? I'd actually love for you to give it a go, Rich. Try and answer the question. Like, why isn't Nedeljkovic playing? Do you think he's too inexperienced? Do you think he doesn't suit the way Emery wants to play? What do you reckon it is?
Honestly, it's a difficult one to say, because I would have said, like, a couple of games that he came on in the Premier League, he looked a little bit lightweight. He looked a little bit kind of rabbit in headlights. Maybe he's, in the way that Emery plays, he plays the attacking player down the attacking fullback down the left-hand side and not necessarily down the right-hand side. But then why sign him if you've got a right back who does like to push forward? So that, and then you think if he's young and slightly inexperienced, send him out on loan for a season like he's done with some of the other players. So that doesn't really make sense. And then from the first team experience situation, he's an international football. He's a full international. So like Gary mentioned before, so it's a little bit of a difficult one, because he's played very well in his last friendlies that he played for Serbia. So he can obviously show he can compete in, the men's football and international football. So, and you look at the frailties that we've displayed on that right-hand side, I don't know if he would do any worse than what we've got at the minute. No. I think there's someone on Twitter had highlighted some of the issues with, and I think Michael's commented that we're still building, we're still getting used to the squad, and that position that Onana's picking up on the right-hand side of the two central midfielders, with that being the triangle of Konsa, Carlos, Onana. Sometimes maybe Onana's getting dragged out of position a little bit, and that's then leaving those two players quite exposed. and then Bayliss maybe having to come back and cover when really it should be, as Kamara's done, he fills into those deeper positions. So maybe there's just an element of a few players just trying to get used to how to operate in that system, which is, you maybe get some more attacking thrust from Onana. I can feel that he's trying to play with the handbrake on a little bit. I'd like to see him let loose and go and just drive with the ball, but that's maybe not what Emery wants him to do.
Do you know what's funny about Onana?
He's almost trying to pull himself back from doing it.
He is. But do you know what I've kind of noticed about Onana against Ipswich? Just as we get rid of Dougie Luiz, Onana is a very casual passer of the ball. He plays it very slowly. And I was just like, oh, here we go again. You've got Tielemans now. He's really direct and he passes the ball with like oomph. And, he puts the challenge on the player receiving it. Look, I'm going to play the ball into you quickly and hard so we can get forward quickly. You need to have your touch about you. Do you know what I mean? You need to have your wits about you. Expect the ball from me. And Onana's just kind of like, sometimes he's like posing as he kicks the ball. And I'm just like, come on, man. Like, just.
Do you know who was pissing me off yesterday with it as well? Leon Bailey. Leon Bailey always does this, like, he cuts back and he does this pass like it's like, ugh. I'm like, you're playing in Premier League football. You can't get away with. You're a professional. That's what you like. It's your job to do that. Like, to pass the ball properly. Pass the ball properly. Give your man who you're passing it to the best opportunity to control it and play it elsewhere. Because if you mess up your pass by being too casual, that makes his pass more difficult, which in turn will make the next person's pass even more difficult. So you've got to, when I was coaching, I always used to hammer every single player that I coached. Make your pass good, play your pass as if it's going to be the last time you're ever going to pass it, because you're just giving your teammate the worst possible chance to control the ball. And Leon Bailey was really pissing me off with the way he was passing the ball yesterday, because it's complete lack of professionalism. And same with Onana, just too casual, just throwing it away. Like, why do you want to have the opportunity to give possession back to the other team by making a sloppy pass? It's just, if I was Emery, I'd have took him off straight away, because that's ridiculous.
Well, he did take Bailey off, and
he did.
Philogene came on, and he wasn't.
Philogene did the same type of. Yeah, it must be emanating through the team.
No, and this is the thing. Like, I've actually got, me, I've got a lot of time for Bailey, I think.
Oh, me too, but that was really pissing me off.
No, you and I both have the same thing about casual passes of the ball. Firstly, it slows down the tempo of the game. Secondly, you leave yourself open to lose the ball, which Onana did against Ipswich. So these casual passes are really easy to intercept because the ball's not really traveling at any sort of pace. But I think, look, both players, Onana especially since the start of the season, has shown what he's capable of. He's chipped in with some really important goals. He's performed well. That goal against Young Boys, he's and very much relishing being at Villa. So that doesn't make him immune from criticism, but it shows that he has talents that can be super valuable for us. And it's definitely something he needs to work on. You've got to remember he's come from an Everton side where the expectation is just to turn up. And be on the pitch for the game. There's not a lot going on there. Now he's in this high demand.
Well, he said, hasn't he? He said that he's never been coached so intensely than the last few weeks under Unai Emery. So you think about all the knowledge that must be going into his head. So until it clicks, there must be moments in games where he's thinking, "What do I do here? Where do I go? How do I operate?" And
I mean, let's be honest. As a fan base, and definitely Unai Emery, the demand is continued excellence. You have to be brilliant. You can't be any less than a 7 out of 10 every week. You don't drop stinkers because we can't lose games. Why? Because we're competing at the top of the table, and we're competing for the Champions League, and we're competing in the League Cup and the FA Cup. We want to win something, and we've got a really good squad. Maybe the best team. It was only last week we were talking about, oh my God, look at what we brought off the bench. Barkley, Maatsen, this and that, and all the options that we have, and this is a team, for the most part, depending on your position, and especially when everyone's fit, is if you're not playing well, you're going to be removed, and someone else is waiting to play in your position. You've got the likes of John Duran pushing Ollie Watkins. Like, Ollie Watkins has started scoring again and putting in some good performances and doing some good things. do you not think he was slightly motivated by the fact that John Duran was breathing down his arse with dragon fire, telling him, well, look, if you're not going to score, mate, I'm here, I'm ready to go. And that might be part of the problem in certain positions. Maybe Onana needs that push from Kamara. Maybe Bailey benefited from that push from Diaby. I don't know. I'm not saying he's put the handbrake on. He's
well, Danny actually asked that and said, do we reckon we're missing Diaby at all out wide?
I think Bailey's been injured this season, and I think he's we all have a lot of patience depending on who the player is. Cough, cough. But maybe we should reserve a little bit of patience for Bailey. He had a brilliant season last season and showed what he's capable of, and he was a massive part of the reason we finished fourth in the first place last year. Very consistent, very rarely injured last season. He's had a bit of a knock, maybe a little bit knock to his confidence as well. But even yesterday, although he didn't do much, brilliant cross, put it on a plate for Ollie Watkins. He's still contributing, even though he's not at his best yet. So, and he'll want to do better as well, Leon Bailey, because he does think a lot.
Of course. Yeah. And I think he played well when he came against Wolves. He was contributing to changing that game. And I wish he would go down the outside more. He's actually pretty good on his right foot. I think it's because he concentrates more with his right foot to put in a better cross. And
he can do it all.
I wish he would go around the outside more.
He can do it all, whether it's cutting in or going on his right. Look at how many assists did he get last year? Was it 16 or something ridiculous like that in all competitions? Well,
he's now got 16 assists for Villa. I think this is courtesy of AVFC Stato.
Yeah,
and that's the same amount of assists that Grealish got.
Yeah, he really has. Whatever he's been doing has been working. The main thing about Leon Bailey last year is he wasn't losing the ball. He never lost the ball. Even he'd either get the ball in, or he'd create a chance, or he'd play it back, or he was almost impossible to get the ball off last year. Look, this year he's not playing as well, but I think we need to give him the benefit of the doubt back. And I genuinely mean this, because I hate the idea of, you've got to back the lads. It's like, shut up. If they're being crap, you need to call them out. But Leon Bailey is such an emotional guy, especially with his dad shouting in his ear, telling him he should be captain at Real Madrid every 5 minutes. Probably a lot of pressure. But I think I think Leon Bailey is the kind of guy you need to get behind, and you need to kind of, spur him on. And I think you'll get the best out of him when you do. There are certain players who I would say they need a bit of a kick in. They need a bit of a, hey, this isn't good enough, because they think they're doing well when they're not. But I mean, all in all, look, what can we say? It's one game. It was
look, I think the Villa fan sums it up. I didn't think we played awful at all yesterday, lads. People were questioning how early the subs were, but we do need to rest players for tomorrow for Wednesday. And Carlos decided not to defend the 2 goals. So yeah, it's like I think you were going to put it in perspective. It's one game, and we didn't get beat. We're going in with 13 points from 6 games. If we'd have dropped points against Everton, maybe we win this game. It's one of those, isn't it, that you take it as it comes. And as I said, it might be a bit of a wake-up call. Just in terms of, I guess you mentioned Ollie Watkins, great to see him back in the goals now. What's that? 3 league games in a row that he scored, now 4 goals, and fantastic for Morgan Rogers as well. 2 assists and against Wolves, a goal yesterday. So that's really encouraging to see. Ollie Watkins, as you say, maybe it's that added bit of competition between him and Duran, which is spurring him on. Maybe that mindset that he's got, I think that he's developed over the years, and it's good to see the link up with him and Morgan Rogers working quite well as well. Yeah,
I think Ollie Watkins has developed so much as a player since he's been at Villa, because I would say previously, even in games where we never scored, you always noticed Ollie Watkins was there. Now he's absent until he's involved. You know what I mean? You don't see him. And in that second half, the only thing I would disagree with on the Villa fan where he did put everything into perspective is he said we didn't play awful yesterday. I think we did. I think we were pretty awful, if I'm being honest. I thought we were pretty shit, but Ollie Watkins was really active in the first half when he was involved. He set up Morgan Rogers for the first one. He got in the right position. And I'll tell you what, the thing I'm most impressed about with Ollie Watkins this season is how he's jumping. I said this last time I was on the podcast as
Mate,
well.
it was unreal. Yeah.
He's just climbing so well in the air. Like he's timing his jumps perfectly. He's getting so high. He's beating defenders on timing, and that's like an instinct thing. And the one thing I've always said about Ollie Watkins is I don't think he's a natural goal scorer, like not as natural and clinical as some others, but he's really honing in on that. And I must say, in terms of his heading and stuff like that, he's been really. I think it might have been my wife. My wife, my voice she was listening to, but yeah, I think Ollie Watkins has been impressive. But he has been very uninvolved for large periods of games, and yeah, I think it's one of those. He's can take a lot of credit, and I like the fact that he passed the ball back to Morgan Rogers for the first goal yesterday. It means that he's not feeling that pressure. I've got to do the wrong thing to score. He's got his head on. I don't have the best opportunity to score here. I'm going to play it back to Morgan Rogers, and all I can say about Morgan Rogers is what a player. What a player! Like I think we went downhill yesterday when we subbed him off. I think that's where the game turned for us, and that's the impetus that we lost going forward. Like we were always crap defensively, but going forward, as soon as he went off, we were very, very quiet and didn't have a lot to do. And I just think he's just made such an impact in this team. Less than 12 months since he's been here, and he really is a wonder kid. I think we spoke last year about his ceiling being significantly higher than Jacob Ramsey's, and now I think his actual output is exceeding Jacob Ramsey's substantially. And I think he's gonna continue to get better and better. And by the end of the season, I expect him to be one of the most important players in the squad.
Yeah, he's just been an absolute revelation, and I think England squad. And honestly, I think the fact that Cole Palmer scored the goals on Saturday inspired him to be like, right, I need to score. And I would have liked him to score a few more. But yeah, it was a great. He's a great player, fantastic player. Just a quick one. Do you think we missed John McGinn?
Good question. No, not really. John McGinn's a brilliant player, and he offers a lot to the team. I think that the players who came in his stead are more than capable. I think it was just an off day from so many areas of the pitch. Like John McGinn wouldn't have done anything to impact how frail we were defensively. I don't think he is as hustle and bustle defensively as he used to be. In terms of going forward, I thought in the first half when we actually had the ball, I thought we were fine. But in the second half, we were just overrun, and these long balls were killing us. And a long ball isn't something that John McGinn's going to stop. And I do think it's important for us to have the option. It would have been brilliant to bring him on, maybe as a captain, maybe from a captain's perspective, maybe it would have helped. I think John McGinn's more of a lead by example than a shout at your players type captain. But I think in terms of the actual footballing ability on the pitch, I'm not sure how much we missed John McGinn, but only because we have so many good people in that position.
Yeah. I just maybe thought in terms of tempo and just, a bit of leadership, responsibility, etc. Like example on the pitch, I think maybe Barkley could have maybe come on a bit earlier because he had that shot from sort of 25 yards. Sometimes he needs someone just to do something. But yeah, no, I definitely take your point. Now, I think a few people talked about the substitutes, and this is where I said before we came on, I don't know how much the coaching staff would have done in terms of research on this Ipswich game. And I don't know whether there was just a level of complacency, and some of the substitutions smacked of like, oh, we'll just put these guys on and then they'll change it. And then, oh, now it's not working. We'll go back to what we were doing before. Cause you went two up top with Duran and Watkins. Oh, that's not working. Oh, well, we'll go back to what we were doing before, but we'll take Watkins off because we can't take Duran off. So we'll take Watkins off, and Buendia will come on, and we'll go back to what we were playing before in terms of the one man off the striker. And it struck me as a bit Steve Bruce type substitutions. It was just like, right, let's just throw a few players at it and just see what happens. Like, I just didn't think there was any like method to the substitutions. I think it was like, right, let's try and get 2 forwards on. Oh, that's not working. Let's go back to what we were doing before and see if anything can happen there. And I don't know whether the required level of preparation or whether Ipswich just totally surprised Emery and the coaching staff. I don't know.
All right, let's tackle those points one by one. In terms of Ipswich surprising Emery and Villa, I don't think they would have been surprised because it's the same way teams have been playing against us all season, hitting us with that long ball, hitting us with that counter attack, being very physical. That high press, just get rid of the ball. 11 behind the 11 behind the ball whenever we've got it. I didn't see anything that I hadn't seen before this season from Ipswich. So, and I think like teams like Man City will get this more often. Like teams will play against them pretty much the same way every week because there's only one way to beat Man City, and that's to stay in the game for as long as you can. I think Villa are now getting to a stage where we're very well documented. We've got a lot of the same players we had last year as well. So like their strengths and the way that they play together is well documented. And it's easy to study up on. Not to say sometimes there's nothing you can do about it, circa the first 5 games of the season. But there are instances where you can prepare better. In terms of Unai Emery's knowledge of Ipswich as a whole, I'm sure it would have been knowing him and how methodical he would have had someone on it and going through every game they've played, since they were last in the Premier League. Yeah, so it's I don't think that they surprised us or that we were underprepared. In terms of the subs, I find it really interesting you say that because I don't know what you want, what else you would want him to do.
I get it.
It wasn't working. He tried something different. That wasn't working. So he said, all right, this isn't working. I'm identifying that. I'm going to change it. I'm going to change it back.
No.
What do you want from him? Do you know what I mean?
I understand this. It's one of those as a manager. If the subs don't work, you're going to be questioned of the subs that you made. I totally understand it. It was just. Yeah,
but how many subs has he made over the last 5 weeks?
I know that have worked. I know.
It's the same with anything like set pieces. Emery Buendia comes on.
That was strange.
Yeah, you say that, but then when Austin McPhee and his set pieces work every other week, we're applauding the set piece vision of Aston Villa Football Club. I think the main thing that we should probably address is we've got a massive game coming up on Wednesday, and I think, and I said this to you before the podcast started, I think everyone at the club has an eye on Bayern. Was kind of hoping that we could skirt through Ipswich with a few issues. The idea is they're this newly promoted team who are most likely going to go down. I didn't even know half the players. And I would consider myself a pretty avid football fan. I do watch Championship football from time to time. I didn't know half the players in their squad or even on the pitch. So I'm sure they were hoping, look, let's just try and bury them early and we can take some players off and you can tell by the substitutions. Why would he bring Morgan Rogers off for 64 minutes unless he's trying to save him for Wednesday? You say the same thing about Ollie Watkins. Maybe he was just like, forget this. Look, we're going nowhere in this game. Take Ollie Watkins off, give him a few extra minutes rest and get him.
We could have lost, though. We could have lost.
But we could. But the thing is, we could have lost whilst he was on the pitch. Like the game didn't change. We were still getting pummeled well into the end. Like the last 3 minutes was them hanging around having corner kicks and. Yeah, if you look at the stats, I think they'd had like 6-7 corners in the second half, and we didn't have any. Like, I think it was just one of those performances. Bayern is a game of massive magnitude for Aston Villa Football Club. It's the team that we won the European Cup against 42 years ago. It's the biggest game at Villa Park probably since those times. It's the reintroduction of Champions League football to Villa Park. It means something. The whole club, from the ownership down to the kit men, will want to do their best and to have a good showing and really re-announce Aston Villa on the world stage. Let's be honest, we drew with Ipswich. No one's going to give a shit. If we pull off a result against Bayern, people are going to stand up and take notice of Villa, who probably some fan who's looking for a team in Asia who's going to spend lots of money on on kits. You know, it means more to the club to do well against Bayern. And I think it's a little bit short-sighted, but I think you almost can't help it. If you've got a big work
I said that
on
at the start.
Thursday,
Yeah.
on Tuesday and Wednesday, you're not thinking about anything else, right? You're daydreaming at work. So I think I might not be right, but that's my theory. Is I reckon everyone was kind of had an eye on Bayern.
We'll see. We'll see. I have to shout out James for a $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much, mate. Should we be finding a way to start Barkley? He brings more control to the game every time he comes on. Cheers for all the content, boys. Up the Villa. I think we have to touch a little bit on Wednesday. We have to because we are going to do a full match preview and everything like that. But as you said, we've talked about this game yesterday. we've still just said, Wednesday's the most important thing. So
it is.
Yeah, let's just bring in some chat about Wednesday because loads of the chat have been on about it as well. Yeah, what's your feelings going into it? Just discarding yesterday's sort of game.
It's crazy. I was talking to my wife on the way back from Pompey today, and we were talking about because I'm obviously going to the game. I say obviously, I'm very fortunate to be going to the game on Wednesday, and just going up to Brum was sort of like staying with my brother and taking time off work on Thursday, and just explaining to my wife what's going to happen. And then I said to her something that I found I was quite profound, if I'm being honest. I'll give myself a little pat on the back. I said to her, I was like, this shouldn't mean as much to me as it does. I was like, this is, and her response was, oh, it's probably because it's something that you never expected to happen. And to which I was like, well, no, not necessarily, because the Martin O'Neill days, we were pushing for that fourth spot. But I said it's because it's something I've been waiting my whole life for. Like, I have expected it to happen. And that's the thing. Like, I know we've already played our first Champions League game, but to be there at a Champions League game at Villa Park against one of the biggest clubs in the world, hearing that music, if I can get into the stadium in time, I'm probably going to have to get there at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, make sure you get there early.
In the lower hole. But, just being there, the occasion isn't lost on me. Like, I think I'm just going to enjoy it. Like, I'm not even sure I care what the score is. I'm just going to go there and watch Aston Villa play in the Champions League at Villa Park against Bayern Munich, one of the best teams in the world, and we're going to be at the top table and we're going to be swinging on our own merits, and we'll win or lose depending on what we do, and that's something I genuinely have been waiting my whole life for, to see us in the Champions League, to enjoy that. And I still find it quite surreal. I mean, I know that Young Boys game happened. I didn't really watch that one so well because I was at that awards dinner. Yes, Michael, I think I'll definitely be there.
I'm not going. I'm toying with the idea of doing a watch along, but we'll see.
Yeah, but it's one of those, man. It's just, it really is surreal, and it's, for me, I'm hoping it doesn't feel like miss it or you'll blink. I'm hoping this is the start of a new era for Aston Villa, and this is a competition. If you look at where we are in the league and how we're competing in the Premier League, I hope it's a position that we're in for a really long time to come.
Yeah. Cloudy with the chance of UFO says, if we play like we know we can, we have a chance against anybody. It's just if it all clicks. Gary said, what's happening on Wednesday? Kevin said, biggest game since Juventus 83. Scotty was there. He's got the programme. Deontay said, Bayern also have vulnerabilities, and as Leverkusen showed on Saturday, they can be frustrated.
But Leverkusen are a team that almost went on.
Yeah, they were a great side, yeah.
Context.
Yeah. Feels like it's the first time I'm going to Villa Park on Wednesday. Can't wait.
Yeah, I feel
PJJ said, Phil, we've got enough quality to get a result. Walker said, yesterday's game was bigger than Wednesday's. We could still qualify for next stage if we lose against Bayern, but only drawing against Ipswich, we can't get those 2 points back. I do take your point, we've got to qualify for Europe next season, but again, 13 points from 5 games, beat Man United on Sunday, will be spot on.
I'll give everyone a little piece of advice. Go to the game to enjoy the occasion.
Just enjoy the occasion.
Expect nothing, and you won't be disappointed.
Expect exactly.
Nothing, and if we win, it'll be a billion times better. And if not, you've just watched Villa play Bayern in the Champions League. Do you know what I mean? You can't lose that. That's my mindset anyway.
Yeah. Adamski said, let's just hope Bayern have a really off day and fans are noisy as F. Gary said, we're better on a par, or we are better on a par with Bayern on our day.
Gary needs to get off the juice, man. I'll tell you what, Gary's been waffling all day.
James also said, I don't understand so many fans worrying about Bayern. We outplayed City last season and did over Arsenal twice. I don't see Bayern as a bigger scalp.
It's the occasion. It's the occasion, though, Rich. You've got to bear in mind, and Bayern are a team like Arsenal. We play them twice a season, every season. Do you know what I mean? Arsenal are a team that Unai Emery has managed. Look, fine, we had one of the best performances you'll ever see against Man City. And I genuinely mean that from any team. We had an absolutely astonishing performance. But Bayern are an unknown entity, and it's the occasion. This is their bread and butter, Champions League night at, a smaller club. Let's be honest, we are a smaller club than Bayern Munich. That's nothing to them. It's not as big an occasion as it is for us. It's not their first, European game in 40 odd years. It's a different cat. This isn't just a Premier League game against Man City or an Arsenal where it's a free hit. There's a lot of pressure on this game. I think people should probably bear that in mind.
It's amazing. I think you've summed it up perfectly. Just, a brilliant occasion, a brilliant opportunity for the players to showcase themselves. But if we go with the lower expectations, but just to create a real atmosphere, I think we'll be able to, give a good account of ourselves, and that's what we want. Michael said, Wednesday will be very emotional for me, as I believe this is the last time we can thank our heroes and also for us to put ourselves on the world stage. Villa fans show our best side to the end. And Kevin also says, it's not only Bayern, it's Gary Shaw night, rest in peace. So that'll just really add to the kind of occasion, won't it? And the emotion, and hopefully again give the players a bit of extra motivation as well to perform.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, those who watched Gary Shaw growing up, and Villa Park is brilliant because it's always such a mix of age ranges. You know what I mean? It's not like, it's not just kids. It's not just sort of people who are a bit older and have seen a bit more. It's a mix. So you're going to have people. When I was at Villa Park last week, the guy next to me was sort of like an older guy, and he was talking to me about Gary Shaw, and I was just. I just listened to his stories, and he made it really clear just how important Gary Shaw was, and just how brilliant he was during that 82 Cup win, and how enigmatic and how he resembled Jack Grealish in his style of play and the way he excites you, and I felt that with Jack Grealish. I felt on the edge of my seat with a player who you really feel attached to, feels like one of your own. So I think we'd be doing him a disservice to not put our best foot forwards. It doesn't mean we win. It means we go out and we compete and we make a good account of ourselves, and whatever happens.
Yeah. We are going to do a full match preview tomorrow. We're going to do a bit of a fans forum Bayern Munich special. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But Bear in the Garden says, what about a clean sheet on Wednesday? Now, that would be a hell of a defensive performance if we manage that.
Is Kane injured? I know we'll probably do that.
Potentially. I've not seen anything to say that I know he went off. He's having like intensive training or something, but whether that's to get him fit for the weekend as opposed to the game, on the Wednesday night, I don't know. But yeah, we'll find some more info.
Harry Kane is on the injury list on Football for Bayern Munich, and it does say that he's got an ankle injury. He's due back late October 2024. Okay. So that's an interesting one. They're also missing their right back, who is very good. But do you know what would be really interesting when Mings is back? Because Pau Torres is obviously a brilliant passer of the ball, and he's very integral to what we do in terms of moving the ball forward from defence to attack. But he has looked super lightweight this year, and he's been caught out. He's quite slow. Do you reckon that he replaces Torres with Mings to shore up at the back at the cost of what Torres brings to moving the ball forward?
I think there might be an opportunity for them to play in the same side, to play
How?
together.
Well, you're going to put Concert right back again?
Yeah.
Nah. The thing is, Concert is, in my humble opinion, our best centre back.
Yeah. I
Why
agree.
would you compromise him? Why would you
I don't
compromise?
know, but why is he doing that now?
Well, because there is arguably like no other option. Do you know what I mean? Like you can't.
Yeah.
But say everyone's fit. Say Matty Cash is back. I know Matty Cash was fit.
Konsa and Mings is the centre back partner. Like that was the. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, I think there's horses for courses. There's certain games where I think Mings is needed, and I think we've missed him in a number of games that we've faced certain players that have kind of dominated Pau Torres.
I think defensively Mings was definitely better when he got injured than Pau Torres is. But there's no way Mings. The thing is, when you watch our defense play, Konsa always just passes the ball to Pau Torres and lets Pau Torres move the ball. And what Torres does going forward, there's no one else in our back line can do the same. So I think he's one of those almost undroppable. He really should just be a CDM, really, shouldn't he? Because he's pretty good at tackling, not great. And he passes the ball. And the thing is, he drives with the ball. You asked earlier why Pau Torres was past Tielemans. When that goal came in, it's because he was running with the ball.
I know.
That's what he does. He's a CDM for me. He's like a Rodri or something like that. He's a very good passer of the ball, and maybe not that great defensively because he's a bit weak in the challenge. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's an interesting conundrum, but it'll certainly give us those options. And I do think it's a time where we are missing a Tyrone Mings type player, and I just hope that he comes back to some sort of, to get back to that 100% Tyrone Mings that we know is so important to us. I just hope that he does that. Yeah. A lot of people in the chat talk about 3 at the back. Maybe that comes in, but
where do you take Mings
does Mings play? Does Torres play as the spare man then to step into midfield, or so you play Torres in the middle and Mings and Konsa on either side, or do you play Mings as the spare man?
I love the idea that people say put Mings at left back. We've already got 2 left backs.
Oh no, yeah, no, you're not going to do that.
Yeah. It's a funny one. I think it's interesting. And for me, I guess I figure Mings is not going to be the player that he was when he got injured straight away, or if at all ever, because Tyrone Mings had a very, very serious injury, and he's at a certain age where it's not always that easy to get it back, and he's not played for a long time. And we saw when he got injured, his leg shrank to the size of a straw, and it's come back to full fitness now. But I would be very surprised, extremely surprised, if he came back as strong or playing as well as he did when he got injured. I hope he does. I think we need it. But first, I guess the most important thing is I hope in January we go and sign a right back. Like that has to be, if we're going to make any signings in January, we need to get a right back. And do you think Philogene, obviously he had a horrible game against Ipswich, didn't really provide anything apart from a nutmeg, which I quite enjoyed. Do you think we need more options out wide? Because we do look very narrow, don't we?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit early to make any rash judgments on Philogene, because he's literally had 2-3 substitute appearances of no more than 15 minutes. So it's a little bit difficult to make any snap judgments. But
we had half an hour against Ipswich.
Yeah, true. Yeah. He hardly had the ball, did he? Hardly passed to him.
But it is Ipswich as well. If that's an opportunity that, he got the ball, but he just kept losing it.
I always just think that, I don't know what it is. I said this in my match reaction. I think Ezri Konsa has sometimes an issue with passing it to younger players. When he was playing centre back and Bogard was at right back, he hardly ever passed to Bogard. And I don't think he was reluctant to pass it to Philogene. Now, maybe that's because Philogene lost the ball the first couple of times. I don't know. But that pass to Watkins was way too difficult. He should have just passed it to Philogene. But I think in his mind, he's thinking, I don't trust him with the ball at the
Or maybe he
moment.
doesn't want to put him under that kind of pressure. Maybe he's trying to protect him by not.
Maybe,
which is wrong in itself as well.
Yeah.
I don't think Conte's got an issue with that.
But I do think there is potential to need to sign a player who can play out wide. Yeah, I do think there is. But I don't know. We've talked about the squad and the squad depth and the kind of ability to make changes, and we've got that. Maybe it's just one or two little tweaks. So it's difficult to say. It's difficult to say too much in terms of what's needed or what's not needed, or what cover is there or not there. I just think we need a little bit more time for those players to maybe show what they can do.
Yeah. Do you remember Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool a few years ago when their idea was just, we're going to outscore you. It doesn't matter how many you score. We know we're a bit shit defensively. But I think it was pre-Van Dijk maybe. They were just like, we're just going to score as much as we can. I think that is kind of looking like the Villa ethos at the moment. It's like, fine, you're going to score some goals, but we're going to score more. And the main thing is as well that I still retain from the rest of the weeks is even when we go a goal down, we still look really strong. And I still have a lot of confidence that we'll come back. Heads don't drop. It's kind of fine, whatever. We'll go again. And I did see a stat at the weekend that I don't think anyone's dropped less points from winning positions.
Yeah. It was only 7. It's probably 9 now. But yeah.
It's 9. But even then, I think we were still had that kind of clearance. So, yeah, it's one of those. It's a horrible game to watch. And it's a horrible game to drop points in because it's Ipswich. And let's be honest, I had a lot of respect for Ipswich. I was very happy when they came up last year. I thought they did a brilliant job. They've got a really good manager and they've actually got a very capable team. I was very impressed with some of the football they played. But let's be honest, it's Ipswich. We should have got all 3 points. And to drop points to a team like Ipswich, to miss the opportunity to go joint top of the table and to have such a perfect start to the season by the Arsenal game I think that's what is stirring the emotions. But I think we put that behind us very quickly, and like the rest of the squad and the club probably have, and just look forward to Bayern on Wednesday.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. Just before we finish up, I just want to shout out our show supporters, Football Prizes. I mentioned this last week. They have an excellent competition. And again, this ends on Friday. So you've got about just under 4 days to potentially win a double signed shirt display of Ezri Konsa and Matty Cash. There's also 15 instant win prizes, including Aston Villa home and third shirts as well. Tickets only cost £3.95. To have your chance of winning, please visit footballprizes.co.uk and search for the Aston Villa prize. Another excellent prize on offer from Football Prizes.
If I win, can I ask you to take the Cash shirt out?
I was going to say, mate, I've got the perfect person on for the Matty Cash prize, but that's why I did it.
No, I love Matty Cash. He's such a good lad, and I'll watch loads of stuff with him. He seems like such a nice guy. I'm sorry, I'm just being mean. I'll be honest. I still don't think he should be our starting right back, but I'd be honest.
Definitely take him at the moment. Definitely.
This is the thing. This is why I was concerned. Is I really want Matty Cash back, and I thought about what that meant, and I was like, oh my god, we really are in trouble for Matty Cash back.
Right, let's leave it at that before
that can't be the last word. Say something positive. Let's go.
Yeah. But no. Thank you everyone for watching. We can't wait for Wednesday, and Sam's going to be there. Special atmosphere. I'll obviously be watching and reacting to it after the game, possibly doing a watch along as well. We shall wait and see. But we will be back tomorrow for a fans forum, Bayern Munich preview special. So make sure you stay tuned to the channel for that. I'm sure all of the Villa podcasts will be doing some sort of show tomorrow. So you'll be spoilt for choice for Villa podcast content, but we know where you'd rather be, so make sure you stay tuned to our channel. We'll also got plenty more coming up. Obviously, we've got Man United, small matter of Man United on the weekend as well, so we'll do a preview for that later on this week. I'll also be getting a Manchester United fan for in the away end, so loads of content to come. Make sure you stay tuned to the channel. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, help us hit that 4,700 on the road to 5K. Sam, thanks for jumping on. Thank you all for watching. And as always, remember, we'll follow the Villa.